Hi, this is Pat Moorhead, and the 6.5 is on the virtual road at Google Cloud Next 2023. Dan, it was an exciting week. You and I not only covered the event coming in, we were physically at the event in San Francisco for a few days. What a great time.
Really was a great time. And Pat, what is also a great time is when we can find that beautiful balance of being able to be at the event, be present, attend the sessions, talk to the executives, talk to the product builders, customers, and at the same time still get to pod with my bestie in the wake of an event like this. And this was a big event, Pat.
Yeah, the topic du jour, which has been the topic I think since November of all analysts, is generative AI. And one thing that sometimes we forget with all this generative AI magic is that it's only as good as the data layer. And unsurprisingly, we have two of Google's top data experts, business leaders, Gerrit and Andi, covering analytics and databases. Welcome to the 6.5.
Yeah. Good to be on. Hey.
Thanks. It's good to see you made it through the event and still smiling, right?
Are you guys fully recovered? You feeling good?
We are still fully living it, right? It was a great week. Lots of good customer conversations. I think Andi and I are still jazzed up about next.
Heck yeah. Well, that's good, because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about here.
Yeah, I came back buzzing. If you looked at my tweet stream and some of the stuff the team, we published this week, it was very compelling. And so some really good customer conversations. And of course, your CEO, Thomas Kurian, was very generous with his time, gave the analysts multiple sessions, including some small group sessions where, we hammered them pretty hard, but the answers came back positive and very assured. And of course, as analysts, we do like that a lot. So, we kind of hit on the fact that it's been a busy week. There was a lot going on. There was customers, there's partners, of course, analysts, most importantly, and there were a lot of announcements. I'd love to get just both of your reflections on the event. Everything from the trend lines that you saw, opportunities with Gen AI, and of course, you're interacting with customers. Maybe any feedback you could provide from that. And Andi, I'll start this one off with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think Gen AI was top of mind for all of our customers. But I think what got them really excited at the conference was it wasn't just theory, right? Like we really were able to engage them in the kind of things that they could do. And we actually were able to show lots of demos, lots of technology, lots of product innovations that could actually help them with Gen AI. And I would say there's really two different aspects of Gen AI they were really excited about. One is how can they leverage Gen AI in their own applications to improve the customer experience and employee productivity? And the second one is assisted AI, right? And we talked a lot about Duet AI at the conference and how can we actually help, their employees, achieve more for the business. And in both of those dimensions, we had great conversations. Of course, data, was at the center of that because when you talk to enterprise customers, everyone is very interested in the Bard and ChatGPT like experience. However, for enterprise apps, it's actually all around bringing this kind of, Gen AI, large language models together with enterprise data to deliver, accurate, up-to-date experiences. And so I think there was a very strong recognition that without having the data side figured out, right, there wasn't really as much value in the large language model side. So a lot of the innovation that, my team kind of showcased, Gerrit's team showcased, was around bringing these two worlds together and truly delivering enterprise apps for financial services, for healthcare, that deliver, that step up in value for their businesses and their customers.
Gerrit, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think, the red thread for me, was really the step from taking AI to enterprise AI, in the sense of, applying it to real business problems. And, as Andi has said, right, the magic is all within the customer's data. It's when it comes to AI, the most unique, the most differentiated asset. And, people start to think differently about their data estate now. In the past, we were talking mostly about structured data, Now with generative AI, we have fantastic opportunities to work with all sorts of unstructured data to analyze and to extract insights from, be it video, documents, voice recordings. And customers are understanding now that, hey, this is a real important part of my data landscape for which I can drive like real 360-degree insights when I know what my customers are saying about me on the phone, or what they're writing me to or writing about me. So that's, I think, a big step up. Another big step up was the understanding of how do we interconnect the data landscape, knowing that for AI models, the deeply hidden patterns are the most interesting ones. So we are not looking for narrow data sets, but very wide ones, and really exploring cross-cloud analytics, with Google's Omni technology. So many customers were saying, hey, I lived in a past where I could accept having parts of my data outside in Azure or AWS and being decoupled from where my analytics and AI stack lives, now to a world where cross-cloud data, cross-cloud analytics takes a primary role. And I think lastly, one big theme that we had across many of our customer conversations was, how do we bring AI to our data? In the past, it was always bring data to the AI system, and that made every AI project a data project in disguise. Now with customers who are in the petabyte range themselves, sometimes tens, maybe you saw in the keynote, Yahoo, Andi, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they said 550 petabytes of data. That may be, the very high end, but it kind of shows you that in these data volumes, you cannot bring data to AI anymore. You have to bring AI to your data, and you have to differently think about your data and AI stack as a consequence.
So the talk of the show was generative AI, but the reality is that analytics, machine learning, deep learning, those aren't going away, right? In fact, what generative AI did is it just made a tremendous opportunity, but it's also more complex, particularly when it comes to data. So Gerrit, maybe holistically, right? When you talk to customers at the show, what were some of the biggest data challenges that you're trying to help solve right now today? You talked about a few of them, I think, in relation to generative AI, but I'd like to hear kind of holistically.
I think one of the big challenges that most customers are living in still is that they have sometimes 10, sometimes hundreds of data silos, right? And they understand that now in any sort of AI activation, they need to break through and interconnect all of these data sets. We had examples, from customers like SGB Bank, who moved to BigQuery and interconnected 176 banks on a single data platform, to really basically drive that interconnected data landscape with. And I still think, be it data silos within legacy applications, be it data silos across clouds, be it data silos across on-premise and cloud, it's still a pretty big theme for companies to finally move past that. That's a key stepping stone in their data maturity. I think the second big challenge that customers face today is how they can make the unstructured data a real strategic part of their managed data landscape. I think thirdly, also data formats are increasing, right? And data landscapes are not anymore, a data warehouse system. You have open source file formats like Iceberg and Hudi and Delta, and you have many different ways, of data streams now coming into your company. And they're all, whether it's an open lakehouse, a data warehouse system, you still need to have a well-managed and well-secured data landscape, right?
Yes.
With the compliance, with data residency, with all of the increased trust expectation that comes with AI that a company wants to give to their consumers and customers in return. And bringing that together, what we say at Google, connecting it through the ultimate simplicity of BigQuery to bring it down in a one-line statement is, I think, still, for some of the companies, the key step to take. For others, maybe moving one step beyond that, it really is an AI activation. And it's exactly to your point, right? We have hundreds of machine learning operations today in BigQuery alone, and customers are using TensorFlow, Onyx, XGBoost, for various cases, be it customer sentiment analysis, cohort segmentation, propensity to buy models, and really benefiting from the secrets that data hold, to understand their customers better. Now layering generative AI on top of that, of course, just makes the toolbox so much more wider and so much more interesting.
Yeah. And by the way, one thing I would add on that is, you kind of mentioned deep learning is not going away. That is absolutely the case. But I think what, large language models are enabling is they're enabling developers to also drive some of this innovation.
Yeah.
Right. And there's probably 10 times more developers than there are data scientists out there. So the other thing, we're helping customers with is how do we equip the developers, right, to really go and build these, Gen AI experiences. And that also means, giving them kind of, vector support in databases, vector embeddings, kind of connecting their unstructured data that Gerrit mentioned, to vector embedding models and to operational databases. And so I would say that we are definitely seeing kind of a change in some of the personas that are also contributing to the innovation. Um, and then as they really think about going into production, then you also have a lot of challenges you got to figure out, such as, cost and latencies and so on and so forth. I often say the best model is not necessarily the best,
Yeah.
right? Because the best model may be high latency and very expensive, and it may actually be sufficient to use a model that's smaller that gets the job done, and can deliver much more interactive experiences. So I think there's also an element here of how do you use your data to really make sure you understand, the model quality, and then kind of compare that back with your data, and so you can optimize, the customer experience and the cost elements of this, which is still a pretty hard problem and, has not been completely solved yet.
Let's drill down a little bit into differentiation, Andy, because I hear what you're saying. The developer ecosystem is very, very important. And I mean, that's why you have a developer keynote at Google Cloud Next, right? So, but Google, of course, is sort of well known for, its search and its data
Kind of
estate.
well known.
It's kind of well known, humble. We're a humble crew, okay? The minute you think you're bigger than well, they're pretty big. I don't know. But anyway, but this data estate that you have, it does present some pretty unique opportunities. A lot of what was being built, DeepMind, Brain, these projects that were being done was, the world becomes a benefactor that Google can invest in R&D and work on these interesting things. And of course, now that this is all in the mainstream, this broader portfolio, you're building this cloud business on top of it. How are you sort of thinking about the unification of data? Because that's something every company is struggling with and trying to work around. And then, of course, how does your sort of data unification and your data estate play into a differentiation story that enables you to say, yeah, we truly are different than, hyperscaler A, hyperscaler B, hyperscaler, D, C, E, etc.
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say that we think about the unification data at a variety of layers of the stack. Let me talk about the nuts and bolts side, and then we'll talk a bit about the higher levels. What's very differentiated with Google is that we have a complete compute and storage disaggregated architecture. And we also own our own global networking. So what that really means is, whereas other providers will typically anchor their data estate around a blob storage that has tens of milliseconds of latencies, our disaggregated compute and storage infrastructure actually gives us uh, latencies in the 400 microseconds or so in our ability to get the data, plus it's completely disaggregated. What that actually allows us to build is it allows us to build systems that are very, very unique in the performance, the price performance, the latencies, and availability versus any other provider out there. And the reason why we're able to do that is we actually had to solve that problem for ourselves. And we built very unique technologies like Spanner, right, that needed to do OLTP at, we have databases at over 100 petabyte level OLTP, transactional databases. I'm not talking about analytics, right? So we had to solve these really big problems for ourselves internally. And of course, BigQuery is also one of those, kind of technologies that has come out of, solving our own internal problems. And it's just been very exciting now that we're actually able to take those technologies and externalize them to customers. And so customers are realizing a different level of, scale and availability and performance with us that they can get anywhere else. So that kind of baseline unification does allow us to then deliver very differentiated features So for example, at Next, we announced Cloud Spanner Data Boost. That is a way to go and process data that is real-time, transactional, in a workload isolated manner. Because of this compute and storage disaggregation, we can go directly from a different part of compute to that storage. And we tightly integrated with that with BigQuery. And also Spark on Dataproc. So basically, a customer now can go to BigQuery or Spark on Dataproc, do a very large scale, heavy kind of analytical query on maybe a petabyte of data that's in Spanner. And it actually works. And not only does it work, it's workload isolated, meaning it has no negative impact on the production offering. So those are some of the unique things that I would say only we can build because of how we built the system bottoms up. Now, at a higher level, we're also adding a lot of the kind of out of the box integration. A lot of our focus has been on really pre-integrating the platform for customers so they don't have to do all the kind of pre-integration themselves and can really focus on innovation. And so we've announced capabilities like data stream for BigQuery, which automatically ingests data from operational databases to BigQuery, BigQuery federation to our operational databases, of course, something like Spanner Data Boost that I mentioned. We announced the reverse ETL from BigQuery to Bigtable at the conference. And then, of course, in Gerrit's area, there are things like Dataplex that also give you full cataloging and management of your data estate. So I would say the differentiation starts at the nuts and bolts, but we've moved all the way up to the top of the stack to make sure that we've kind of pre-integrated this platform for customers in a very differentiated way, like no one else has really been able to do. And that's, I think, where customers really derive the maximum value, because in many other environments, they spend 60+% of their time just on the plumbing. And really with us, most of their time can be spent on building business features and business value.
Plumbers need jobs too, right? I'm just kidding. So by the way, I've written a lot on BigQuery and Spanner, and I'll go one step. I mean, Google has planet scale capabilities that don't get discussed a lot. It was nice to see the company talk a little bit about more of those, as opposed to, hey, this is just what we're doing in Google Cloud, because, I think that what you're doing in areas even like open source, the fact that you've started open source projects. A lot of people talk about, hey, I'm a participant in an open source project. Google creates a lot of these. Andi, I know you're very passionate about that, but can you give me just maybe a summary or some sort of positioning as it relates to Google and open source? And Gerrit, I want to make sure you get a bite at this apple too.
You want to go first, Gerrit?
Oh, you go first, Andy. You go.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we're very passionate around being an open platform and really making sure that when our customers choose Google Cloud, they don't feel locked in. So a lot of our focus is really on open standards, open APIs, really supporting open source well. And our customers really appreciate that. And that's everything from really focusing on delivering the best experiences on managed open source, whether that are things like Kubernetes, which we invented, Cloud SQL with MySQL and Postgres, memory store with Redis, all the way to, I would say, open source compatible services. Like Spanner has a Postgres interface, AlloyDB is Postgres compatible, to deliver some of our differentiation, but in a way that gives customers the comfort that if at any point in time they need to run on premises, they need to show the ability to do a stressed exit to a regulator, they're able to do that. So I would say our engagement is both on open source and on open APIs. But really the intention is to make sure that our customers, have this open ecosystem, whether it's data formats, APIs, or so on, that we support them with.
Yeah, as you said, biting from the apple too. I think, keys to understand data is not a solution, right? Data is an ecosystem, and it's ultimately, for our customers really important to facilitate that ecosystem. So our job at Google really is, to create that open platform that Andi was talking about, which they can build their data ecosystem with. And innovation many times is driven, from various angles, right? It's sometimes hard to predict what a good solution would be for a certain challenge in the data processing space, which is why we have, commitment to open standards. We are supporting Apache, Iceberg, Hudi, and Delta, for instance, as primary persistency formats. In our machine learning, we just talked about Gen AI. We just announced the support to import XGBoost, Onyx, and TensorFlow models directly into BigQuery again, to really benefit, have our customers benefit from pre-trained models and the open source frameworks and libraries around us. And we truly believe that, if we are the ones helping this ecosystem to thrive, at Google, the data ecosystem, ultimately, this is what's going to help our customers the most.
So I want to talk about, innovation and rapid onset change. And Gerrit, I'm gonna throw this one your way. But Pat and I actually, one of the great things about our time is we actually talk to some of your clients. I don't say actually as if it wouldn't always be great, but I'm saying actually a lot of our vendor don't necessarily give us lots of one-on-one PR and comms free exposure to talking quietly to customers. So we talked to some really big customers of yours, and we're able to ask the hard questions. And we've heard about digital transformation for like 2 decades, 3 decades now, and it's been an endless thing. But I've never seen change onset at this pace. That the change that's taken place with each sort of industry 1, 2, 3, 4, digital 1 happens faster and faster and faster. But talk about that part, because it feels to me like the appetite, just look at the GPU sales numbers. The appetite for change is substantial. Every company, it's a gold rush, whether it's the hyperscalers, the enterprises, they're buying all the AI capacity they can buy. But what we always forget about is digital transformation comes down to how much can people adapt. Can customers adapt? Can the employees adapt? IT people, can we have enough data scientists? Do we have enough developers? Do we have the right applications built? How are you dealing with that part of actually saying, okay, we've got the capacity and the technology, but we can actually help you keep up and do this?
In the past 12 months, maybe, it was one of the fastest innovation cycles ever in the industry. And if you look, if you just followed Google Cloud from I/O earlier this year to next, the amount of launches and innovations that, we have brought to the market is, of course, it's amazing. It's amazing to see. And it's certainly also for our customers right now, looking at all of this coming to next. One of the question is, how do we adopt this? How do we apply this? How do we upskill ourselves with all of these new capabilities? And I think to a large degree, there is a mindset change that goes alongside with this, because this rapid innovation cycle, where is it driven from? From improvements in models, right? Not improvement of software systems, right? And models iterate so fast, and once they do, they can scale their new capabilities so quickly, that I think a big part of that is also, making this step, from being a functional company to a data and AI driven company, and really understanding what that operating model means. So you are not outpaced by innovation, but every time, AI capabilities develop and models develop, you're immediately benefiting off it. So I think that's a big part of it, right? There is a big cultural and skill-based aspect to it, which really goes to how do a company understands itself and where do they drive their value generation from. A great example of that is Wendy's. I hope you could check out their showcase on the show floor, from the quick service industry, Wendy's burgers. Amazing example, because their AI innovation did not start with Gen AI driven customer service. It actually started a year ago when they started to build their customer data platform, their customer profile, their customer segmentation on BigQuery. And that basically gave them all of these ingredients that once the Gen AI models came available, to adopt them so quickly. So I think that's a big part, right? Really configuring yourself to data and AI-driven value generation, and understand models will improve so fast that you kind of want to build your services and process in a way that you benefit from this immediately, versus building scaffolding around it too much. And I think the second piece is give it a go. There is no such thing like experience. And I think the biggest mistake that you can do right now is saying, I want to get it right, so I go slow. There are some aspects that you have to get it right, which is the data foundation. We talked about it. But then it now comes to application. There is a certain element of experimentation and testing out ideas and really finding the right match to your business problem and Gen AI technology. And I think there are some really fantastic, concepts from how you do incubation inside companies, how you start in critical aspects of your value chain, such as the customer experience, and really gain experience by applying it to your space. And with that, build up culture, skill, and confidence to scale it out further. So yes, it's a lot. And yes, you want to decide where you start. But I think the biggest change is to make the first step, and making the first step, the time is right now.
Yeah, I remember I've been tracking Google Cloud since its existence. I think the first Next I went to was at a pier on a boat, or not on a boat, but near a pier. And boy, have things changed. And your ability to turn technology into enterprise benefit has been substantial. And especially when TK came in and made so many of those investments. So this has been a great conversation so far. Hopefully you think the same. But I thought I'd like to wrap this up, and I want to make sure we hear from both of you. I want to talk about, you're making big bets today. You talk the whole show about what you're doing today. You put things on the roadmap, but can you talk about 2024 on what customers can expect from Google, maybe beyond the, hey, we're going to go GA with the stuff that we said was in preview, maybe something a little bit deeper, and then maybe talk a little bit about the elements of why people should pick Google Cloud, and maybe Andi will start off with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the anchor points for how we think about 2024 is the big interest, not just in Gen AI, but really thinking about these data-driven applications and how to innovate faster, as Gerrit mentioned. And so there are a variety of areas that we've seen, really be top of mind, right? The first one are things like, AlloDB AI, like how do we bring that AI development experience, closer to their data, closer to their operational database, so they can truly build enterprise apps. And we had some announcements in Next, but we definitely think the sky's the limit, and we can really do a lot to enable developers and practitioners who are innovating with AI, and that's a really big focus area of us, and especially at that intersection between data and AI. The second thing is, we heard consistently from customers that Duet AI really opened their imagination around how their employees, could get AI assisted experiences, to move faster, innovate faster, you know, get their jobs done in a better way. And so we think that the AI assisted aspect of this is very, very important, and one where we think we have some real differentiation on how we can make impact on behalf of customers. The third thing, by the way, which was kind of interesting, customers have been talking to me for quite some time around wanting to get off legacy databases, wanting to move to more modern and open platforms. But I think what we're seeing is the urgency to really kind of have the flexibility in the cloud to run where and when they want. Having these new Gen AI capabilities has really accelerated the desire of customers to get off legacy databases like Oracle and SQL Server. And I'd say that was definitely one of the big messages I heard consistently at Next. And so there's a real opportunity there. We of course just GA'd our Oracle to Postgres, migration service. We do think that assisted AI is another way to really boost that experience for customers. So that's another opportunity. And then last but not least, I would say I would end with the boring stuff that is probably the most critical to customers.
Yeah.
Is availability, security, governance. We kind of consider that as like our job zero. Is we have to make sure we continue to raise the bar there. I was really excited at this next, where we demonstrated Cloud SQL planned maintenance in about 5 seconds for a database. AlloDB does it in under 1 second. That's really unheard of. And so we will also continue to just raise the bar in all these, what I call kind of table stakes, but most critical dimensions of our customer experience, and really to continue to make sure that we are delivering the industry leading availability, security, data protection, and so on.
Gerrit, how about you? I want to make sure you get the final at bat. I said the bite of the apple. I'm going to use the at bat. I know that's
Right.
American slang, but
Yeah, so
sorry.
Sports
no worries at all.
analogies.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So, I think actually it's going to change dramatically in 2024. As I said, right, we're living in a big innovation cycle, not in a small innovation cycle right now. Just take a look, right? We have today, billions of queries and exabytes data analyzed a day in BigQuery. You said it's a global system. Yes, it is. In Looker, the business analytics side, we have every month 10 million, give or take, users logging in, right? Distinct users logging in. So how about we change the life of all of that, right? In a profound way. In the BigQuery way, yes, we talk right now about SQL and code generation in Python, but what Duet AI in BigQuery really enables, it tells you how you could analyze your data. And that's a big deal, right? Because, at least the four of us here in this room, we are all humans, right? We only find the stuff we are looking for, right? You only search the keys in the light. But Duet AI, by analyzing all of your metadata, all of your usage data, all of your query logs, can actually give you entirely new ways how you can cheaper, faster, in new ways analyze your data that you have never thought of yourself. I think that's amazing. The second piece, quick test with the two of you. You know how to use Google, right?
For a few years.
Trick question, yeah. But if I would just say, okay, we using Google to search the public web, that feels normal, and it's kind of like me asking a question. It's a silly question. Yes, everyone can do it. But if you would now say, well, can you build a dashboard on your internal data with a reporting tool, right? Basically, how quickly could you search your enterprise data? The answer, I don't know for this group here, but in a representative set, it's a specialist role, right? And imagine a future where you could chat with your enterprise data the same way you chat with the public web through Google. And this is exactly what we're doing with Duet AI and Looker. And I think that's going to change the world, right? It's going to make insights and knowledge so much more accessible. And I think ultimately it will companies to run better, innovate faster, do all of these amazing things that they thought they would achieve, when they started digitization. I think in 2024, a lot of this will come to reality.
Gentlemen, it's been a lot of fun to chat. I see the future, and the future of bringing together that public open internet data set, language, and then of course all that proprietary, high use, high value data that enables you to build narratives, content, stories, marketing, analytics, intelligence, and so much more. And we could talk about this a lot more, but we're not going to do it right now. And so I want to say thank you. I want to say great Google Cloud Next show. Appreciate you both taking the time here to spend with Patrick and myself. And I hope we'll have you both back again soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
All right, everybody, hit that subscribe button. Join us for all of our Google Cloud Next coverage here on the 6.5. Of course, join us for all of our episodes. They're all really good. But for this show, for this hour, I want to thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you all very soon.